How often do we find ourselves getting stuck when we're trying to make those decisions because we just start thinking, then overthinking, and then before you know it, everything just has to shut down. Well, the key is knowing the difference between helpful thinking and spinning your wheels. Welcome to the Overthinking to Outthink podcast, the show where we turn overthinking into powerful action. I'm Drew Chaz, and if you've ever felt like your mind is racing in a million directions and you're looking to see it to your advantage, you're in the right place. This podcast is all about helping introverts like you to stop overthinking and start out thinking, embracing your natural strengths to lead with confidence, calm, and clarity. We'll explore how to break free from analysis paralysis, trust your instincts, and thrive as an introverted leader in a world that often demands more extroverted energy. Whether you're building your online business, leveling up your leadership at your 9-to-5, or just finding ways to own your quiet power, every episode will leave you with actionable tips and inspiring stories to help you take the next step with purpose and confidence. So if you're ready to stop overthinking and start out thinking, let's dive in. Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about some simple things like moving on from thinking to actually doing. It reminds me of a time where I was young and I was always a quiet kid. Nobody understood. They just told me, yep, he's just shy, he's quiet and all that. And in my mind, I was thinking, I'm not that quiet. Well, I don't know why they say that, but I guess since they're saying it, I am a quiet person. So they always talked about it as being a negative thing. And it took me years and years to realize that it's not a negative thing. I just need to use all that thinking that I've been doing all these years into something positive. It was about 20 years ago. I was, into my career and I was trying to get a promotion. And I did a double level one-on-one with my director. And I was telling him, this is what I want to do. I want to move up. And he flat out told me, well, I don't think you have what it takes because you're just too quiet. I left that meeting thinking, so do I need to change myself to be able to get a promotion? Or should I just use what God gave me and, use it to my advantage? So of course, I started overthinking and I was determined at that point on that I'm going to use my introverted strength and my powers to get what I need. Nobody's going to change me. I like my personality. I'm consistent, and everyone knows that when they come to me, they're going to get the same thing. It's going to be consistent. They're going to get good advice, and we're going to get the job done. So let's talk about moving on from overthinking to actually doing. So going into this episode, let's talk about using our careful thinking to actually get things done. There's a simple system that works with your natural way of thinking, not against it. For example, think about filling up a glass of water. There's a point where adding more water just makes it overflow, right? Well, information is exactly the same way. We need to know when we have enough just to move forward. And when we start thinking that we're overflowing with information, that's when we need to kind of step back as introverts and take some quiet time just to get our energy back and to get powered up again. As you know, we start overthinking at that point, and then nothing usually comes out in a positive way. So here's a way I found that's a good way to organize your thinking. So just imagine drawing 3 circles. Just draw one inside the other. In the middle circle, put the things that you must know right now. And then in the next circle, put things you need to know soon. Then in the outer circle, put things that would be nice to know later. So let's just say you're thinking about starting a small business and selling things that you make. In your inner circle, you'd put things like what you sell, how much it costs to make, and who might want to buy it. Then in the middle circle, you might put like marketing ideas or ideas on how to grow your business. And then in the outer circle, you could put things like having multiple locations or selling worldwide or details that can come later. This simple drawing is going to help you focus on what matters right now instead of getting lost in future possibilities. So now let's talk about how to make decisions without getting stuck. How often do we find ourselves getting stuck when we're trying to make those decisions because we just start thinking, then overthinking, and then before you know it, everything just has to shut down. Well, the key is knowing the difference between helpful thinking and spinning your wheels. When you're thinking productively, you're learning new things and getting clear about what you do. It's like walking down a path. Each step takes you somewhere new, but sometimes we get stuck walking in circles, thinking the same thoughts over and over. And then that's when we need to try something different. How many times have you found yourself just walking in circles after thinking about or just having thoughts? We get the idea in our head, we just start analyzing it, and then we start overthinking just so many different ways we can handle the situation. When in all reality, it could have probably just happened, if we focused on the most important things, like what's in our inner circle, what we need now, we would get the answer much faster and clearer. Maybe what we should do is try something different about specific time for thinking. So here's what works. Set aside specific time for thinking deeply. Maybe it's 30 minutes in the morning when your mind is fresh. And during this time, write down what you learned. At the end, just ask yourself, did I figure out anything new? The hardest part is knowing when to stop gathering the information and start taking action. So with all this thinking talk and these exercises, let's talk about actually doing something with all the thinking we've been doing. So the secret is really to take steps so small that they don't trigger your overthinking responses. It's like taking those small steps is going to help you see the middle ring. It's going to see you find those right now triggers. Instead of trying to make those perfect decisions, we're going to make small, safe moves forward. It's kind of like testing the water with your toe instead of jumping in with both feet. A lot of times we just jump in and, in some instances, that may be the right way to do it. I don't know it is for me when I jump into the pool, but when it's time to make decisions, if I just jump in all full-heartedly, it's difficult to capture all the thoughts at once because like those rings in the water, they're just going to spread out. But if you just test the waters first, you just go with those small steps, stick your toe in, everything's under control. It just seems that you get more clarity and the answers come a lot easier. Think of it this way. Let's just say that you're changing careers. You're not going to start by quitting your job. You're not going to just go, okay, well, I'm going to start my new career and I'm going to jump all in and I'm done. That totally makes no sense, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to start by talking to someone who works in the target field or at the company that you really want to go work for. You start by talking to someone who works in that target field because you want to get that expert advice. One thing I did when I decided that I want to start my online business is I jumped in full force and I got trapped by those "you're going to make billions of dollars in 5 weeks" schemes that are out there. And there's a bunch of them, right? Well, after about 3 months and I was completely lost and I saw that what they were teaching me was actually how to sell a course instead of teaching me what's in the course so that I can learn how to start my business. I just decided, you know what? I've got to step back and think about what I'm going to do next. And that's kind of like sticking your toe in the water, right? You know what you did. You jumped in all the way and it didn't work out for you. I could have quit at that time. I could have just said, screw it, this isn't for me. But I always knew that I wanted to start my own business. I wanted to learn the ropes of going online. Although I was pretty savvy at the time, it just took some time. And even now, it's just a little bit different when you're jumping into an online business because there's just so much to it now. But what I did, I was determined to start the business the way it should be started. And I started looking for a course that taught the business. And the people that created this course are actually trying to teach you business principles. They're not trying to get you to sell a superficial product just so you can get money and you try to trick people into coming in. So getting back to starting your business, you're not going to quit your job. You're going to talk to someone who works in that target field. And you're not going to start by spending all of your savings, right? You're going to start making one thing and showing it to potential customers, step by step. So here are 2 simple signs that it's time to move forward. First, just notice how often you're having aha moments. And you know that we have those quite often. I mean, we have the solution, but then we start overthinking that aha moment into something different. When you first start researching something, you learn new things all the time. But when you start finding less and less new information, that's a sign that you probably know enough to take that step forward. Secondly, let's look at how much time you're spending thinking compared to doing. If you've been researching for weeks, but haven't taken any actual steps forward, it's time to switch from thinking to actually doing. So here's an active plan of what you can do over a month's time. For week 1, let's pick something that you've been thinking about a lot, which I'm sure there's plenty of that, right? So draw your 3 circles and fill them in with what you need to know now, soon, and then later. Spend just 3 days gathering the must-know information. And then for week 2, let's decide in week 2 what enough information looks like for your situation. Write it down, then list 3 tiny steps you could take to move forward. Then week 3, take those small steps and don't worry about getting everything perfect. Focus on learning from what happens. And then in week 4, you just focus on what worked and what didn't work. And then use this information to plan your next moves. I think it's really important that we take what we gather and what we think about and just kind of categorize them, right? Just put them in those rings. And then it's just makes it easier to determine what kind of action you're going to take. By taking what's really needed now, before we finish today, I want you to do one more thing. Think about something that you've been analyzing for a while. What's the smallest possible step you could take to move forward? Write it down and then put it in your calendar. But when you put it in your calendar, pick an actual day and time. Remember that your careful thinking is a strength. We're not trying to change how you think. We're just adding some structure to help you take some action as well. Thanks so much for listening to this week's podcast. I know that it's good information that's going to help you and us as introverts to be able to gather our thoughts and not overthink so that we can outthink our loud extrovert friends. Make sure you go to drewchaz.com and check out my store, as well as my other free guides and checklists that are very action-packed and ready for you to download and use right away. Also, go to my socials and respond or leave comments on each one of them and check it out. And then you can email me at andrew@newyouwithdrew.com and tell me what you think about all this. Also, you can tell me what you'd like to hear in future podcasts. I appreciate you guys, and I know that you have what it takes to be able to get that promotion or start that online business that you've always wanted, but you've always overthought about it and just did nothing. You guys take care, and don't forget, don't let anybody change you. You be you.